In 1990, one of the fastest-growing software companies in the world was a lie. The profits looked enormous on paper. The cash was not there. The board considered firing the founder. His rivals were circling. The banks were calling. And Larry Ellison doubled down. That decision did not just save Oracle. It created a personal fortune that today sits above $200 billion, and a wealth-building framework that most men never learn. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly how a man who nearly lost everything ended up building one of the most powerful empires in the history of modern business. But first, a lie about financial security that is quietly costing you your prime earning years. Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. You have been told the goal is stability, a stable job, a stable paycheck, a stable pension plan. Here is what no one tells you. Stability is often just exposure, dressed up in office clothes. If your entire financial life depends on one employer, one paycheck, one title, you are not stable. You are concentrated. And concentration without control is not safety. It is a single point of failure. Most men spend their 40s trying to make life feel safe. Larry Ellison used instability like a weapon. And that is why one man who nearly watched his empire collapse ended up building one of the most powerful fortunes in modern business. To understand the weapon, you have to understand the man who forged it. Larry Ellison was not supposed to win. When he was 9 months old, he contracted pneumonia. His mother, a 19-year-old single parent, sent him to Chicago to live with her aunt and uncle. They adopted him. His adoptive father, Lewis, told him regularly that he would never amount to anything. For most people, that kind of rejection leaves a wound. For Ellison, it became fuel. He was smart, but the structured world bored him. He attended the University of Illinois, dropped out. Enrolled at the University of Chicago, dropped out again. He was not broken by the system. He simply refused to play by rules he had not chosen. In the early 1970s, working at a company called Ampex, he found a document that changed his life. A research paper by an IBM scientist describing something called a relational database. He was also working on a database project for the CIA at the time. They called it Oracle. Here is the first principle of true wealth. Massive wealth rarely comes from invention. It comes from execution, from seeing what the giants are too slow or too arrogant to seize. IBM understood the theory. Larry Ellison understood the money. In 1977, with 2 partners and $1,200 of his own money, Ellison started a company to build what IBM was too hesitant to build. They called their product Oracle, and they made a calculated decision from day one. They skipped version 1 entirely, launched as version 2 to create the impression of maturity. The sales culture was relentless. Close enormous deals. Book all the revenue up front, even for software that was not finished yet. By 1979, they had released the first commercial relational database to use SQL. By 1986, Oracle went public. By 1987, it was the largest database management company in the world. He had proven everyone wrong, especially his father. The 1990 collapse was not an accident. It was the result of Ellison's own strategy, taken too far. Oracle's aggressive sales force had been booking future revenue as current income. The profits were real on the spreadsheet. The cash was not in the bank. When the accounting errors were exposed, Oracle had to restate its earnings twice.
Class action lawsuits poured in from shareholders. The stock lost roughly 80% of its value. The company posted losses for the first time in its history, and Oracle laid off around 400 people. The board seriously considered removing Ellison. His rivals began circling. At 46 years old, the man who had spent 2 decades proving his father wrong was on the edge of proving him right. For most founders, this is where the story ends. The board removes you. You retire quietly. You become a cautionary tale. But Ellison was not most founders. Instead of retreating, he seized more control. He restructured management completely, brought in experienced executives for finance and sales. And then he did something the most powerful men in business rarely do. He stood in front of the company and said publicly that Oracle had made an incredible business mistake. No spin, no deflection, just accountability. The era of faking it was over. The era of execution had begun. And this is where the story transforms from disaster into dynasty. The heart of this comeback was a single product, Oracle 7. Released in 1992, it was a technical achievement so far ahead of anything else on the market that it reset the entire database industry. Stable, powerful. It finally delivered on every promise Oracle had been making for years. This is the moment that matters most to men like you. Not the IPO, not the mansions. This moment, when the man who had been publicly humiliated, discredited, nearly removed, delivered proof. Customers came back, revenue stabilized, and by the end of 1992, Oracle had returned to full financial health. The crisis had burned away the weakness. What it left behind was tougher, more precise, more dangerous. But for Larry Ellison, survival was never the goal. Domination was. The near-death experience did not make Ellison cautious. It made him a predator. He saw chaos as a competitive weapon. His strategy became simple. Find a key competitor. Make an aggressive bid. Absorb their technology and their customers. Then repeat. In June 2003, Oracle launched a hostile takeover bid for PeopleSoft. PeopleSoft's board refused. What followed was 18 months of corporate warfare. Ellison fought the board, the regulators, and a poison pill defense. He simply refused to stop. In December 2004, PeopleSoft accepted. Final price, $10.3 billion. Then, Siebel Systems, the company that invented CRM software, acquired for $3.6 billion. Then, BEA Systems, $7.2 billion. Then Sun Microsystems in 2009, $7.4 billion, giving Oracle control of Java and Solaris. He did not just sell software. He built a fortress around enterprise data. Banks, governments, airlines, insurance companies, hospitals. Customers who do not simply buy a product. Customers who build their entire operations around it. Nice businesses get compliments. Necessary businesses get pricing power. Ellison was not building to be liked. He was building to be unavoidable. Today, the Scoreboard tells the story. Oracle's full-year revenue for fiscal year 2025, $57.4 billion. In the third quarter of fiscal 2026 alone, the quarter ending February 2026, Oracle posted $17.2 billion in revenue, up 22% in a single year. Cloud revenue for that same quarter, $8.9 billion, up 44%. Cloud infrastructure, the AI backbone, growing at 84% year over year. And the backlog of contracted future revenue, $553 billion. Read that carefully. The same company that nearly destroyed itself with an accounting scandal in 1990 now powers the data infrastructure behind the AI revolution. That is not a comeback. That is compounding after chaos. A comeback is emotional. Compounding is structural.
A comeback makes a great speech. Compounding builds a dynasty. And Ellison himself? As of April 2026, his net worth sits at approximately $195 to $201 billion, making him one of the 6 wealthiest people on Earth. In September 2025, during Oracle's AI-driven surge, his fortune briefly hit $393 billion, making him for one day the wealthiest person alive. The man who was almost removed by his own board in 1990 briefly became the richest human being on the planet. That should permanently change your idea of what is possible after a crisis. Now let's make this personal. You do not need to become Larry Ellison. You do not need to start a software empire. But you do need to absorb this principle. If you are a man in your late 30s, 40s, or 50s, and your entire financial life depends on one employer, one paycheck, one industry, one title, You are not stable. You are concentrated. And concentration without control is not safety. It is exposure dressed up in office clothes. A paycheck can make a man feel secure, while quietly making him dependent. A title can make a man feel respected, while quietly making him replaceable. A stable routine can make a man feel disciplined, while quietly making him irrelevant. The system tells you to be dependable, then acts surprised when dependable men get capped. Ellison never chased being dependable. He chased being strategically dangerous. That is what calculated instability really means. Not chaos, not recklessness, not blowing up your life because you are bored. It means this: you keep your eyes on the long-term power shift in your industry, and you are willing to look uncertain in the short term, to own a position early. That is a grown man's move, not a boy's thrill. Boys chase adrenaline. Men chase asymmetric outcomes. So what do you actually do with this? This week, write down the single area of your life where you look stable, but you actually have no ownership. Your job, your income stream, your industry, your investment positions, your business model. Then ask one brutal question. If this disappeared in 12 months, what am I building right now that would still pay me? If the answer is nothing, you do not have stability. You have delay. Make one move, not 5. 1. Option A. Build a second income stream tied to a skill you already have. Not a new skill, a monetized skill. Option B. Convert one liquid asset into a cash-flowing asset. Stop collecting depreciation. Start collecting distributions. Option C. Identify the lane in your industry that is quietly dying and reposition yourself in the adjacent space that is growing. More effort will not save most men. More leverage will. More hours will not save most men. More ownership will. More obedience will not save most men. Better positioning will. That was Ellison's real game. He did not just work harder than everyone else. Millions of men work hard. He positioned himself where the world had to pay him when the future arrived. And when that position cracked, he did not run back to comfort. He rebuilt stronger from the fracture. So here is the truth that Larry Ellison's story leaves behind. The man who was nearly removed by his own board in 1990 did not build a $200 billion fortune because he avoided crisis. He built it because he learned how to survive a crisis, shape it, and profit from it. Most men spend their 40s trying to make life feel safe. But if you want real wealth, your job is not to feel safe. Your job is to become so well positioned that short-term instability no longer scares you away from long-term power. So here is your one question. Not, can I be Larry Ellison? The question is, what is the one calculated risk, the one bet on yourself, that you have been too afraid to make? Larry Ellison did not become powerful because he found certainty. He became powerful because he stopped needing it. Men who learn that lesson early build wealth. Men who learn it late still have time, but not forever. Stay in the hub, because the men who are building are already inside.